Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode. Hashtag CB99 Talks. Some combo breaker 99, of course. And yeah, man, just back with another episode with y'all. Been a little busy. I've been doing some interviews for the past few episodes, just kind of catching up with some of the fighters and women's MMA. Got another Invicta card coming up, so got a couple more interviews coming your way. Got one coming on Thursday. So yeah, man, just want to kick it with y'all. Do some quick discussions on last weekend UFC 251 fights. Of course, I want to talk about the women's fights there, the major ones, and the main event. First off, Paige Vanzant versus Amanda Ribas, where both fighters are going from here. Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas in the rematch. Talk a little bit about that. Also, Kamara Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. And, just want to talk about the fight as far as what it did for both fighters and respect, just as far as like even like a fan perspective, for me respecting the performance that Usman was able to put on, but at the same time, it seems like he got kind of bashed for his performance, so I want to talk about all those angles today, going into that. And, some boxing talk. I haven't really talked too much boxing lately. It's just like been boxing's just been kind of dead lately. I mean, it's just really picking up. It's been consistent on some of the top ranked cards, but like I said, nothing really major going on. The boxing news I wanted to talk about was Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman voicing his desire to fight Errol Spence all of a sudden. He says that, Errol Spence can't leave the division without fighting him. So, let's just talk about that too. But yeah, man, last week, Abu Dhabi, UFC 251, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. It was a pretty solid card. There's a couple fights that shout out to Jerry D. He asked me, he wanted me to break one down and my thoughts on it. The Yarn fight versus Jose Aldo, which I'll probably do in a separate video. But yeah, just going back to the women's fight, Paige VanZant versus Amanda Ribas. Pretty much this fight went the way I felt it was going to go. Like I said, I gave Paige a couple of rounds, just feeling like she had the toughness and the experience, but the drive of Amanda Ribas was just too strong. Right away, Amanda Ribas knew going into this fight that it wasn't going to be competitive on her side. She was like on Paige's side. She knew that going into this one. To me, I felt like it was just going to be more of a name for her, and she knew that. So she wanted to go in there, get a name under her belt, like she did with Mackenzie Dern, and then just have all eyes on her now, So I said it was a smart business move. But when you looked at it on paper, there were a lot of people telling me that, oh, this is a flyweight, this might be an upset or this might be a harder fight. So I was kind of believing it, but at the same time, I wasn't. I knew Amanda Ribas had the tools to make this lopsided at whatever avenue it went. If it went to the ground, it was going to be all Ribas. If it was standing, it was going to be all Ribas. And she did that, one and done. Like I always say, you don't get paid for overtime, so that's what you got to do. She went in there, submitted Paige VanZant with the arm bar in less than like 3 minutes in the round. So moving on from here, that question's been coming up. Does Paige still need to be fighting? And for me, no disrespect to her as a fighter, not saying she's, but right now, just the mind frame she's been in, it doesn't look like she really needs to be in the UFC anymore. If she wants to downgrade, go to Bellator or back to Invicta or something like that, just to kind of see if it really is over, then yeah, that's something I could back. But like as far as just staying around the UFC, thinking you can negotiate a contract if you can't even beat a fighter like Amanda Ribas anymore, then you might really need to move on to another organization to, again, test those skills and just see if you need time to kind of polish them up and build them up. But to me, I think that her mind frame has been more so out of the fight game. Her last fight back in January against Rachel Ostovich, that was kind of like a confidence builder at the time, but then she broke an arm again You know, she broke an arm again and she had surgery, had to go to therapy. And in that time, she was, you know, bragging that she making more money than she was in the UFC. So when you have such when you have like a bigger opportunity ahead of you, then it's really hard for you to bite down and always go through the same grit you did before as a fighter. You know, if you understand that, like a lot of people don't understand, like when you have all these other opportunities, that comfort, you know, being comfortable kind of sneaks up on you. It's not something you just kind of pick up and say, oh yeah, like, oh, I feel it coming, then I don't want to fight anymore. Not like comfort just kind of slips up on you, and eventually or gradually it continues to show in your performances. You know, if you've seen fighters in the past, like when they won belts, or if they just had big paydays, they don't look the same in their next performance because the high is gone. You know, there have been guys who won championships, you know, then after that, defending them wasn't as important to them. So they just kind of fought lackluster in their next fight. Might have won, but they didn't look as good till gradually they just started looking worse and worse until they got knocked out. Then they were out of there. I mean, shit, there's been some fighters who won the belt and they're gone in that next title defense. You know, they kind of lose it right away. But even with paydays, like I said, you know, some fighters, they're looking for big paydays. They get that $3 million next fight. They just show up, not to really win or anything. They just show up. So I think that's kind of the mind frame like Paige is in. You know, of course, he's not going to admit it. You know, no fighter ever really admits it. You know, they don't admit it till it's too late. You know, but she still has that opportunity to say, I can step away now and be happy. You know, you look at Gina Carano, you know, she suffered a devastating loss like over 10 years ago against Chris Cyborg and never returned to the octagon again. You know, she probably could have, but maybe there was something else in her mind that just said, you know, after this fight and these other opportunities I'm getting as an actress, I could just kind of stay on that avenue. You know, the comfort hit her right away and she acknowledged it and she accepted it. You know, Paige, I feel like the comfort is there, but she's not really acknowledging and accepting it. And that could be a dangerous thing, man, especially if you're trying to stay around in the UFC. If you want to stay around the UFC, your skills, they got to be tight. You know, if you're going to be fighting around 115 or 125, these ladies aren't playing, you know. Everybody even below Valentina in the flyweight division is going to give Paige hell. I mean, we saw what Amanda Ribas did. So who could Paige really think she's going to beat going back into 125, even if she does take a little break off, you know? So I really don't think at this point, like Dana White, he might entertain re-signing her. Maybe one more fight, which I don't really think he should. Maybe she might just go to Bellator, like I said. That would be better. You know, just go on to Bellator if you really want to test to see if you still got it or not. But like I was telling somebody yesterday, she just has so many other opportunities that a lot of these other ladies aren't getting, that she could just say, you know, let me leave the fight game alone and let them have it, you know, out of respect, let them have it. And let me just continue to do what I do. Like, you can still stay in the fight game somehow, like as an analysis commentator, trainer, open a gym and just kind of, you know, pick up a discipline and just kind of teach that now, you know, because it's just not cutting it as on competition level anymore, you know. And again, this was something I mentioned before too, is the fact that she was on a show like Dancing with the Stars. Like she said, she made more off that episode than she has in like her UFC career. So if you want to continue to do that type of stuff, then you want to leave the fight game alone, especially if you're not going to be 100%. Because imagine if you break an arm or break a leg and you won't be able to dance like you used to, you know, like you might suffer like a lifelong injury, not even like a major injury, but just something that could do damage to your performance as a dancer. You know, it could really mess that up for you. You know, your face is your money maker also, you know. Scar tissue. You think people are going to want to look at a model with scar tissue all over her face or like big cuts, you know, especially if you want to play that game. So you just got to make the wise decision, say, hey, this is enough. You know, this is enough for me. And yeah, that's where I stand with that. For me, I would say leave MMA now and just seek the big money on the route you're going. I heard rumor was Joanna might be retiring from MMA, and she seems to be doing fine. On the business side. So if she can do fine on the business side, I'm sure that Paige can. And there can be a point where she can accept it. Um, so yeah, that's where I stand with that. But like I said, if she wants to do Bellator, fine. But there's still flyweight killers over there as well. Like I mentioned in my last video. As for Amanda Ribas, though, you know, I like her energy. She's also a very high energy fighter, very positive, very bubbly, but at the same time, that's just her. But when she gets into the octagon, it's a totally different thing. So you can't even compare the two. You can't even say, oh, this girl's just trying to be a model or be cute or whatever. No, she's going in there and destroying fighters. She's out there to expose fighters. So from here moving on for her, I'd like to see her maybe go back down to strawweight if she can make that weight at 115 and kind of work her way through the ranks, see who she could take on, and maybe possibly get to the top 10 and take on somebody like a Carla Esparza or a Claudia Gadelha. Claudia's got Jan Zhao coming up next for her, but yeah, I'd like to see Ribas in there with a fight like that. If she stays at flyweight, work it up there, see if you can beat somebody like Courtney Casey, Jillian Robertson. I think Jillian Robertson's tough though. Jillian Robertson's gonna be tough for her, but I think that the opportunities are there for her. Again, because she's very, very entertaining, cool as a person, but when she gets in there, she's coming to fight. She's coming for blood. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. You think Paige just has to hang it up from here? Amanda Ribas, you want to see her at strawweight or flyweight? Moving on, let's talk the rematch. Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas. Really, man, this fight really showcased, to me, I really think this fight really showcased the improvements in both fighters. And usually when a fight goes the distance, like the judges, they had it a split decision. I think it was unanimous for Rose, but when a fight goes to that distance in the manner that it did, that's just really showing you how tough the fighters gotten, what type of grit they really pulled out of themselves, and what type of improvements they made. Jessica Andrade, right from the jump, she made one of the biggest improvements that everybody saw, the head movement. She was coming in there like Tyson at times, like Joe Frazier, just kind of, bobbing and weaving and giving like a uncomfortable pace and uncomfortable rhythm for Rose. But, she continued to work it. And it was almost like I knew if Rose was able to do what she did in the first fight and not let Jessica Andrade get her hands on her, I knew Rose would win. But at the same time, I think Jessica Andrade kind of knew that too, because there was really no moments where she could catch up to her. There was really no moment she could really catch up to her. So this was just like a really good learning experience for Jessica Andrade to add something new to her arsenal and then perfect it in each fight now. That's why I say, imagine if Jessica Andrade came in with head movement, if she came in with nice leg kicks, if she came in the game with, kicking nice with those strong legs, like she would have been a bigger force. She got so dependent on the slam and got so used to just, thrashing strawweights out in 1 or 2 rounds that she never really fell back on building fundamentals, and it's common, it's common like that for certain fighters. If you look at Deontay Wilder, or fighters that just kind of depended on their power or on their one thing, their speed, they feel like they don't really have to go back and, build up on a jab or work a leg kick or work certain types of, head movement slips and things like that. But I think that it's coming together now with Jessica Andrade that they're saying that one thing is not going to always work. It's definitely not going to work on your top levels. Like it didn't work on Joanna. It's just not going to work on Weili Zhang. So we need some other way to get in there and break an opponent down. Again, highlight for Jessica Andrade was the leg kicks. The way she was touching not touching, but hitting that calf of Rose Namajunas in the first round, in the second round. it was showing that next level. And Rose was reacting to it. You know, you could see the physical strength there. When that leg would connect, Rose's leg would almost come up under her. But, you know, she would stand her ground. You know, she would take a step back and find her footing again. So Jessica Andrade is slowly evolving as a fighter. She's slowly improving. And it showed into that third round, like the grit and the determination is still there, but more and more repetition with the head movement and the jabs and the right hands and the leg kicks, putting all that together is really how Jessica Andrade is going to become a complete fighter. You know, she still has a chance. You can't count her out. It's always dangerous. Rose Namajunas, man, definitely some of the best hands at strawweight or this side of Joanna. Definitely one of the best strikers the UFC has seen. She really knows how to put combinations together, really turns a nice jab over. And when I see that, you know, that's coming from a diehard boxing fan, you know, so I really enjoy watching, you know, just the sweet science of like nice punches, especially like when you're taking full advantage of you being the boxer against like a wrestler. You're just constantly popping that jab off and using it all day. You could just see all of the sweet movements that Rose is making, you know, setting the right hand up with the jab, then moving to the side, staying completely out of range for Jessica Andrade at times, then making Jessica Andrade reset by, you know, moving. And that's what I was saying with the first round of the first fight. Like, that was impressive. You know, she was like the matador in that fight, just stepping side to side, then pop with the jab, coming back with the right hand. And beautiful right hands in this fight that she was setting up. Like, she was falling with the right hand and really clipping Jessica Andrade and knocking her back. Like, that's why I was saying on my post-fight analysis video, this is like a Ali Frazier of the women's strawweight division. You know, you had that consistent power puncher coming in there, but you had the long boxer just constantly thudding them with that jab and piecing them up while they're constantly looking for a way in. And then when you got to that third round, it came down to grit, heart, fighting through exhaustion, fighting through fatigue, but they're in there exchanging, you know. It'll only look one-sided for so long if the other fighter's drive is high. You know what I mean? Like, eventually when that boxer slows down and the puncher or the wrestler catches up to him and they get into that exchange, that's when you're really going to see the heart. You know, that's when you're really going to see the heart and how bad they want it. And I was kind of like pissed at first when I felt like Rose was staying in the pocket too long, but I think that she really wanted to showcase that next level. You know, I think she wanted to showcase that I'm not, you know, I'm in no way gun shy, or I'm in no way fearful of this lady that slammed me on my head in the last fight. You know, I'm going to go head on and face my nightmare, which she did, you know, because in that second round too, whenever Jessica Andrade started putting the body shots together, you know, she started coming down to the right, to the right with the right hand and, you know, going back downstairs to the legs. A lot of this was slowing Rose down. It was taking away the footwork. So again, shout out to Jessica for making those improvements. But when it came down to that, Rose knew she was becoming more stationary. So she really started sitting down on her punches. And I mean, she took crazy chances with them flying knees, but she connected with one good knee that almost had Jessica Andrade out. So she was prepared for any type of in the pocket fight, you know. So that was impressive on both women's parts, especially like, again, Rose, like coming forward with that right hand on flat feet. You know, when you get stationary, you got to make those shots count. And she was doing that. But when we got to that third round, man, that was just like some badass action, man. The blood came out of nowhere for me because I'm sitting there watching these strikes. I'm watching Rose piece up Jessica. Then Jessica starts catching with the left hook and the right hand. And then I just see, like, in that midpoint of the round where Rose is just like, you know, breathing out her mouth, and you could kind of see that blood coming down. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, when did this happen? I'm just like, oh man, like, it's about to happen. Like, Jessica Andrade about to make that comeback. You know, that drive is still here. You know what I mean? Like, the drive gets higher. I mean, the IQ would be here, but as long as her determination is here, you know, that opponent she's fighting has to keep it up here. They're going to get slept. So, you know, Jessica Andrade kept it moving. She kept it consistent. She was landing some solid right hands, landed a big one that nearly had Rose out. But again, Rose dug deep in that last round and was able to hold her own and fend Jessica off and stay on her feet, keep that range back, and ride out that last round. Again, man, that was fight of the night for me. I feel like that was really the fight of the night. It was an impressive rematch, especially seeing a fighter come back after such a violent into the first fight and just come back and put it all together and show skill and will. Show skill and will. And again, Jessica Andrade definitely showed next level. Because of course, her last fight out with Weili Zhang, it was one to really look at. It was one for her to say, I just can't go straight in there head first and run at these top level fighters anymore. I got to find a way to, reel them in, kind of reel them in and intimidate them more. Because to me, Jessica Andrade bull rushing in, that's not really intimidating. That's not really intimidating. That's more predictable, like Joanna proved. Like fighter comes running at me, okay, you'll know what to do if you're a top level elite striker with footwork. You jab all day, and move. But when she started this round with the head movement, I was like, oh shit! I was like, she's gonna bring something new in, and it did kind of have Rose thinking at first and missing a little bit with the jab. But when Rose started getting into a rhythm and understanding the moves that Jessica Andrade was making, started finding the home. And that's why I say, as a boxer, and a boxing fan, I appreciated watching Rose make those moves. Honestly, man, Rose, she could be a boxer, with the type of head movement, the type of power she carries, the footwork she carries, and just, having a fight standing for almost 3 rounds, avoiding the ground. And she could be a boxer. I'm sure the money's better here in the UFC, but yeah, she could probably dabble in both. Like if she wanted to take off some off time and just box, I think she could give these ladies like Katie Taylor, of course, Heather Hardy, Amanda Serrano. I think she could give a lot of these ladies work, some good tough fights. So yeah, man, very, very, very impressed with her as a boxer, with them hands. But yeah, man, moving on from here. Next fight for Rose Namajunas is looking like Weili Zhang. This is probably something I'm gonna have to really break down, just like an early look. But a fight with Weili Zhang and Rose Namajunas is the next fight that I really want to see. And me as a Rose fan, even as a Rose fan, I'm always honest. I think a Weili Zhang fight is going to really, really have to be fought different than this one was. It's going to really have to be high level martial arts at its best, on both sides. For Rose, she's really going to have to make sure that she stays out of the pocket. This has to be a pure range fight with just, making sure she's up on her jab, up on her front kicks, and making this a solid chess match. Weili Zhang is a type of fighter that can really capitalize off mistakes. If you come in there one dimensional, if you come in there thinking you can just bull rush her with brute force, or you think you can stay in the pocket and trade with her, she's going to have fun with that. Every chance she had with Joanna, when Joanna would like kind of stay in the pocket longer than she should have, she was letting go. She started timing Joanna with some beautiful left hands, right around the right hand of Joanna. So any chance she sees that target there and you're making that mistake and you're leaving it open, she's there. She's there. So if you're the fighter with the longer reach, you just have to keep it there all night. And you got to remember, Rose, this is going to be a 5-round fight. And going back to this one, you stayed in the pocket against Jessica Andrade for 1.5 rounds. A lot of people felt like if this fight, Jessica Andrade rematch, would have went 4 to round 4 or 5, Jessica might have had a better chance of stopping her. Just being honest, Jessica Andrade probably would have had a better chance of stopping her, if she didn't kind of pace herself out more and fight off the outside, conserve energy. But yeah, going into a fight with Weili Zhang, man, Weili Zhang, this lady, she's going to be looking for all types of mistakes. She's going to be looking for all types of mistakes where you're staying in the pocket too long, and she's going to make sure each shot counts. Whether she's clinching or going to the knees. And I think going for strength on the inside, it's going to favor Weili's zone. Like if you get into a clinch with Weili, those knees to the body, the control, the head control she's going to have, it's going to be it's going to be tough for Rose. So Rose is going to want to keep it as a outside match. Definitely keep it an outside striking match. But yeah, man, I think that going into this fight, Rose and Weili Zhang, this is going to have to be more of a chess match for Rose and for Weili. You know, but at the same time, I think Weili could capitalize more on the inside and be more physical and be more brute than Rose can. You know, so I think chess match or inside fighting is going to favor Weili Zhang, but the chess match, you know, styles make fights. Chess match is going to be from the outside is going to more so be what Rose Namajunas wants, especially in a 5-round fight. You know, in a 5-round fight, she's just going to want to fight a safe fight from the outside. You know, don't take crazy chances. Again, Weili's got the speed and that powerhouse physique, you know, where she could just kind of go in there and have her way with her. So it's going to be an interesting fight, man. Like I said, I'm going to go back and kind of break this down in a separate video. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that match happening. I wonder if it's going to happen either like 2021. You know, let me know in the comment section what y'all think. Do you think they'll make Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas by 2020, or do you think it'll be like 2021? But yeah, Jessica Andrade for her, man. I think Jessica Andrade. This wasn't like a loss to really discourage her. You know, she was able to do some new things in there that she needed to work on, like I said, and you know, moving forward with her career, win or lose in this fight, it was going to be a confidence builder for her because she was able to do things that we haven't seen her do and be successful. You know, she was able to be successful with these new things that she did. And I think that going into her next fight, you know, against any top level strawweight in the top 5 or top 10, and she uses these new tools that she's slowly been putting into her arsenal, I think that she's going to come out victorious in that fight. You know, Rose and then Weili, they're just like the top elites. But when you go back and you go back to the gym and kind of work on some things for Jessica Andrade, I think that she will be successful in her next fight, man. And she just needs to keep this up. You know, she just wants to keep evolving to be a better fighter. She just needs to keep this up because Jessica Andrade is a fighter. You know, she is a solid fighter. I mean, she wouldn't be at this level for nothing. Even though I say she's one-dimensional, even on the top, even for being one-dimensional, she had to have something to get her to the top, right? You know, and to destroy like so many strawweights the way she did, right? So, you know, that's not really saying a knock to her. That's just like gauging her amongst the elite level fighters. You know, when you gauge her against the Joannas, the Roses, the Weili Zongs, Tatiana Suarez, you just see that one thing from her so much that, you know, you just call her one dimensional. But at the same time, she had something to bring her there, you know, amongst those fighters. I'm just measuring her in that manner. But yeah, she's still a really, really solid fighter. But when you come down to mixed martial artists, you know, that's when you start talking about the Weili Zongs, the Joannas and Roses. You know, they have a good mix of everything, you know, but the fighter's heart really carried Jessica Andrade to the top. But if she wants to get better and better and stay amongst the elite, you know, she definitely gonna have to start adding more tools to the game, you know, because the blueprint is out there for Jessica Andrade. But yeah, man, let me know in the comment section what y'all think. Would y'all like to see a rubber match too? You know, with Namajunas and Andrade? Do you want to see that before Weili Zhang, or do you want to see Rose and Weili Zhang just get it on before the end of 2020? But yeah, man, moving on. Last topic here. The main event, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Fight went pretty much the way I felt it would. Not just saying that because I was an Usman fan. I'm an Usman fan, not really a big Masvidal fan. I just did my homework on this fight, you know, and not on this fight, but on these fighters, you know, and just looking back at the fight this past weekend, Usman, he got more than enough done against Masvidal because he had more tools to his game, just like I said in my prediction video. You know, I mean, just being honest, I know fans, you know, Masvidal had more fans going into this fight, but a lot of the things they were saying just didn't make any sense, you know. And for me, Usman, his performance was impressive. It was an impressive performance, over a man that, everybody was going for, so everybody kind of has to, whether you like Usman or not, you have to give him respect. You have to give it up to him. You have to give it up to him because this is the guy they all considered the BMF, but the BMF was completely nullified in this fight. So you have to give a guy respect, whether you think the style is boring or not, whether he was just like piecing Masvidal up all night from the outside or like he was doing just muscling him all night. The BMF was nullified, so you got to give Usman his credit. And what I think that's what I think about it is it's an age old thing in combat sports, especially, I've noticed it in my years, watching boxing. Um, it's just common for fans to be really juvenile sometimes, and in the age of social media, of course, it's trolls now. You know, it's just so hard for it's just so hard for these trolls and these haters to give full credit to the opposing side. You know what I mean? Like they're like really are truly like they're not sore losers because they didn't compete, but they're just like really, really immature at being able to finally give that person that they weren't going for his full credit. You know what I mean? Just like whenever Mayweather outclasses a fighter, they wanted Mayweather to lose, but they still can't give him credit. They'll try to make an excuse on why their favorite fighter didn't win. They'll go as far as to, like I say, bash the performance of the champion. If they weren't going for the champion, they were going for the underdog, but they'll just say, oh, the champion, he did this one thing all night, or he was boring, or he ran all night. Like they do their best to try to like take him down a notch, try to find some way to disrespect him. And to me, it just shows you how casual fans can be. If they were more familiar with Usman, I think they would know that, or if they were familiar with any champion, if they're not just, with casual fans, they just come through, see who the champion is, like just kind of stick their head in the sport for a little bit, then they just leave. They never really like stay true to watching what a champion does or goes through. If they really knew what Usman or any champion was about, a champion is about the sport, his technique, and using his skill to the fullest. Sometimes fans, they get so caught up in, just coming by and looking at a fight, trying to see something like a fight of the night. They never really want to appreciate a fighter of the night. Big difference. And I think that's what most champions and fighters shoot for. They want to be fighter of the night, or they want to be fighter of the year. They want to be fighter of their division. Again, Usman, he's a champion for a reason. Champions don't become champions by listening to the crowd. They don't become champions by listening to the crowd or stepping into the fire unless they really have to in those tough moments. Even Masvidal, it's been his choice to be an exciting fighter and fight the way he fights. And, at the same time, he has kind of a solid balance off playing off the crowd, but he makes moves to his own advantage too, whether it's out in the octagon or out the octagon, he's doing what he wants. If he's dictating the pace, he might walk around a little bit, shuffle his feet or showboat. That's his choice. It may just be something that the fans, more so cater to, but you got to still give a guy credit on this side, like Usman. I mean, different but similar. Usman, he's committed to what he wants to do, and that's why he has the belt for a reason. Usman knows he has fans, but he still understands that longevity is important in this sport, and if you want to keep going and you want to be the guy that holds that belt and not just the guy that holds the black eyes and the most black eyes and busted lips for fights of the night, he doesn't want to be that guy. He wants to be the guy holding that belt, and he understands self-preservation. Same as Floyd Mayweather. As much as people hate Floyd Mayweather understands self-preservation because this is an individual sport. You go in alone, and when you retire, you leave alone. Fans don't take care of you. If you come out crippled, you come out brain dead, you come out half blind, those fans aren't there for you anymore. You may have put on fights of the night for these guys, and got your teeth knocked out, got your nose, got the boxer nose for the rest of your life, like all of that, just to please some fans. But when it's all done, it's just you taking care of that. So it's important, man. It's important to block out the fans to a certain extent and just perform for you. And, that's what Usman, he did Saturday night. And that's why I say I give it up to him. I give him all the respect, just like I would, if Masvidal had came up with a solid game plan and won. If he came up with a game plan to checkmate the champion, then hey, I got to give him respect. If it was something very, very impressive on a highly technical level, I give him that respect. But Usman was just the man that night. Everything he was doing in there, I was appreciating. And like I said, I watched it again. I didn't watch it with the same eye like the casual people I know did. Like the night I watched it, some other people were watching it too. And the reaction from these people are really people that don't really follow martial arts. They don't really follow martial arts. So their first reaction was, oh, I didn't like that fight. Oh, the main event sucked. Oh, the main event was boring. Like Usman, he didn't do anything. Like this is my first time watching him and I was bored. Like I know MMA, the UFC, boxing, all of that is entertainment, but it's still a martial art. There's still that fine line there between entertainment and martial art. You're going to expect watching boxing, you better know that you're going to either get a chess match or you're going to get a barn burner, So that's where it comes into play for you to know your fighters. Go ahead and go in there knowing if you're going to see a Mickey Ward or Arturo Gatti, or you're going to go in there and see a Floyd Mayweather or like I said, a Kamaru Usman, and if you're going into this fight and this guy has the belt, you have to go in there and understand why he has the belt. You know what I mean? Like it's boring to you, but he has that belt for a reason. So don't just go in there with that casual fan mind, some of these main events, and then just go off and call them and say they suck. You know what I mean? Like these are high level fighters. They don't lead with their heads, and it's just so hard for casuals to take that in. And to me, I felt like Usman, much like the champions I've seen in the past in other combat sports, he fought like a champion. He wanted to showcase who was the superior fighter that night, and the superior fighter that night and for now in his division, and not take chances. You only take chances if it's necessary to take them. You don't just go in there and like push out an open and shut plan you have on a fighter. You don't just go in there again, like I said, leading with your head or listening to the fans because they're booing or because they feel like you're boring. Nah, you got to go in there with the game plan that you have and shut that one person down. If you have that blueprint right in front of you and it's going to work, why not use it? If it's going to help you move forward, use it. And I felt like just going back and looking at the fight, like Usman, after the first round, there was a couple of exchanges in the first round, but I felt like Masvidal, he controlled the round a little bit better with his striking. He landed some good jabs, a couple of good right hands as Usman was, kind of dipping low, but kind of dipping his head down where he still took some shots. And Masvidal had his way with his footwork a little bit in that first round, but there were still moments where Usman was already closing that distance and showcasing the strength. But yeah, after that first round, Masvidal, that was the only round I gave to Masvidal. After that round, Usman did settle in and just started taking advantage, using his wrestling, using that clinch work, getting those underhooks and keeping his head in the chest of Masvidal. And that's what you're supposed to do if you're facing a top level striker. You want to smother that guy. You want to take away their speed. And at the same time, you want to tire them out. And just like I said in my prediction video, like Usman would do, you got to run the clock out. Don't give him chances where we're going to make this a controversial fight. Because look, now that let's say we go back to Andrade Namajunas, see, like Rose didn't commit to the one thing in that last round. So the fight almost didn't go in her favor. It was a split decision, right? So see, whenever you kind of like abandon the game plan just for 1 minute, And that other opponent, you give him just a solid chance, just to kind of stay, a solid chance just to kind of stay on that level with you. You know, it could mess up a whole night. It could mess up a whole night for you. But see, Usman, he didn't do that. You know, the one after the one round, he just kept it going consistent round after round. You know, he didn't waste too much energy. He just kept it the way he wanted to, at the pace he wanted, which is what you got to do as like a very strong wrestler. If you're dealing with a very fast striker, you got to take away the feet, keep them pinned, and use inside fighting. And speaking of inside fighting, I really, really appreciated the inside fighting from Usman. This was like he really came in with like an Andre Ward. He was like an Andre Ward of the UFC going into this fight. You know, he wanted to win. He didn't care what anybody said. He just wanted to go in there and dominate the BMF. The guy that's this badass, you know, this badass guy. Okay, well, I got something for him. I'm going to nullify him, you know, and that's what Usman did. You know, Andre Ward tactics on the inside, you know, constant pressure, bullying him with the head, strikes to the body, you know, those beautiful body shots, you know, all the while he's got him hooked under on the left side, he's coming with the hooks to Masvidal's body, just, you know, constantly tagging him to the body for, you know, 30 seconds to a minute. And, you know, that does damage. It don't look like much to people watching from the outside, but, you know, these are heavy shots. He's leaning in. And I mean, of course, it ain't like range. It ain't punching from a range like Tyson or something where you're seeing him actually landing and connecting. These hurt just as much because you got to remember he's leaning on Masvidal, and Masvidal, his head is up, so he's not seeing these shots. So when you're not seeing them and you don't know when they're coming, you can't anticipate it. They hurt just as much, you know. So these right hooks are just coming, you know, while he's hitting it. You know, he's sitting there tying him up and he's hitting him with these shots, and then he's taking him down. You know, he's tossing him. You know, he's hip tossing him. Masvidal, I give him a lot of credit for, you know, being able to slip a couple of times and, you know, stay to his feet. But even after like the second round, you could see in Masvidal's face, like when he was even pinned up, like he knew that Usman had some like strength that he ain't never dealt with. He knew he was in for a long night, and he knew that maybe, just maybe that 6 days notice was not a good idea against the champion. But got to give a shout out to Masvidal for taking the fight on short notice. You know, he took it like he wanted. You know, it was his call. But at the same time, he really wanted to make a statement by just saying, we fighters and we fight, you know. Again, Usman, to me, showcased a really good style of inside fighting. And what I want to tell a lot of fans, too, is that, you know, inside fighting, it's not toe-to-toe fighting. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean you just standing there, boom, boom, uppercuts. We just exchanging. No, like inside fighting is really you dictating the pace, you making the moves, knowing your opponent's movement, and you capitalize off of that. You know, if you ever see like a fighter just kind of standing shoulder to shoulder, and, you know, he's looking for that pace where they're shoulder to shoulder, he's kind of like waiting for the other fighter to make a move, and then he's going to hit him with something that he don't even see. You know, that's kind of what Usman was doing here at times. You know, when he was going on the inside, landing some good strikes, he's dictating that because he's staying there because he wants to smother Jorge. And he started figuring Jorge's movements out. So when he's figuring those out, he's coming back with some good counters. He's coming back with good shots to the body. Inside fighting, Masvidal's back to the fence, him just stabbing him with the right hook, coming up top with a few shots to the head, and after that, you know, using his head to keep it into the chest so Masvidal can't move. That's inside fighting, you know. I know when people first hear it, they always think it should mean, oh, ain't that going toe-to-toe if that's called inside fighting? Oh, no, inside fighting is it's an art to it. Just as you see two guys fighting from the outside, there's an art to it. You know, there's a master to it. And, you know, I think that a lot of guys now, you know, they see the toe-to-toe and they think that that's what it's supposed to be. You know, they think that's what inside fighting is. You know, that's just brawl. That's just toe-to-toe action, man. But Usman, to me, he really showcased a good game plan and execution of his inside fighting. You know, that was something that I think a lot of people just going to have to go to respect. You know, they're going to have to respect that, call it boring or whatever. But Another thing I want to talk about. Let's talk about the foot stomping. You know, a lot of people were complaining, or, you know, they were acting shocked, you know, at this foot stomp, and, you know, they were kind of like, "What's the foot stomping? Like, why is he foot stomping him?" You know, they even made some memes about it now on IG. You know, talking about the foot stomp, and, you know, to me, it just kind of shows you the age level of who's watching the sport now. You know, foot stomping has been around since the beginning of mixed martial arts. You know, I wasn't even like a big fan in the beginning. You know, my dad was, but I was never like a big fan of the UFC when it first started. I was always a boxing head, but even I knew about the foot stomp. You know, I knew that was a move that people use. It's not used as much now, and it's not an illegal move, but you know, it can be effective. So when people make fun of this, you know, you're gonna have to make fun of a lot of fighters that came before Usman, you know, using this. You know, because like I said, Usman, he used old school tactics and some good inside fighting to come away with the win. And that's what you got to do, man. You really have to go in there knowing, in Usman's case, knowing that all odds are against you. You really have to utilize every tool to your advantage. And just like I said in my prediction video, that's what he was going to have to do, and that's what he did. You know, I feel like he was going to do that, because you can't give a guy like Masvidal any room. You can't give him any breathing room. Out of the octagon or in the inside the octagon. You can't let him know how you're feeling outside. You can't let him know if he's like agitating you or irritating you with some of the remarks he's making. You can't seem shook, you know, with a stare down. You can't do any of that. You can't give him any room there. When you get in the octagon, you can't give him any room to use his jab. You can't give him any room to use his footwork. You have to go in there and dictate everything. And like I said, knowing if you have the belt and you're still the underdog, then you got to go in there and say, okay, you know, I'm going to shut everybody up. Not only am I shut Masvidal, I'm going to shut these fans up that are dissing me, that don't even know me. You know, and I think that's what it came down to for Usman. Usman just said, yo, I'm going in here. I'm going to do what I got to do to win. You already got the odds against you, so you might as well not even try to please fans or even win new fans over. Just keep the fans you got and get and earn that respect. You know, and that's what I saw him do. It's kind of like, again, going back to the Andre Wards and Floyd Mayweathers. You know, they already got people calling them boring. They're like, okay, well, whatever. You ain't going to be here whenever I'm done. You know, when I'm done with the sport, you ain't going to be here when I'm hurt, or if I ever get hurt, or if I'm paralyzed. You're not going to be here. You know, I'm going to approach this the way I want to approach it, and I'm going to win the way I want to win. Call it boring or not. But yeah, overall, it was a good performance by Usman. Again, like I said, that's what you want to see from a real martial artist. You want to see them execute game plan. And I think that it's going to be something that people are going to respect down the line, you know, to just have a highly disciplined fighter that comes in, you know, using their pure skill and not worried about landing the best hard shots and taking shots at the same time and worrying about how much blood you can draw. You know, it's gonna take a few years, you know, but people are going to have to respect it. They're going to have to respect that style that Usman brings. But from here, man, Gilbert Burns, you know, I think once his test comes back negative, we might be closing the year out with a fight with them. At the end of 2020, we'll probably have a fight with Usman versus Burns, and that's a fight I'm looking forward to. Very high energy fighter, Gilbert Burns, very tough guy, but I think that Usman still has the tools necessary to nullify a guy like Gilbert Burns. Going to be a good fight, though. It's going to be competitive. Jorge Masvidal, like I said, I'm not really a fan of him, and, you know, definitely not a fan of some of the things he says out of the octagon. But as a fighter, I got to respect him. You know, I respect the fact that he gave respect to Usman. You know, he knew that he got beat. He didn't make any excuses. You know, he said he does want a full training camp this time and kind of take some more fights to fight his way back to a rematch. And I respect that talk. You know, he didn't go in there, he didn't run out the octagon, or he didn't say, oh, he did this, he did that, or he ran, or oh, he was boring. He didn't want to slug with me. He didn't say none of that. He respected the execution from Usman. And now he's saying that, let me go back with a full training camp, get a couple fights on my belt, and then I'll be back in a rematch. So yeah, respect to both fighters, respect to Masvidal for that. But yeah, champion did what he had to do. Yeah, Gilbert Burns next. If that fight goes down, I'm going to probably break that one down. I do a lot of women's MMA breakdowns, but that's what I'm looking at. Honestly, I don't really see anybody beating Usman from here at welterweight. I think he just cleaned the division out. He's going to really clean it out when he beats Gilbert Burns, and from there he might want to move forward and jump up to higher weight, 185, right? You can jump up to there. Let me know what you guys think. But yeah, man, do you guys want to see a rematch between Usman and Masvidal? Let me know in the comments section. Or do you want to just go ahead and move forward, see Usman beat Gilbert Burns and just see him move up in weight? Let me know in the comment section, y'all. But yeah, man, last topic. I ain't gonna spend too much time on this topic, man. I thought it was just kind of crazy, man, because I am gonna go back and start talking welterweight division and boxing talk as well. So, I'm not lying about that, man. It's just a lot of things been so mixed up with boxing. Like, we don't know the return. We don't know the actual fights being made. So I just kind of been on the back burner with that. But yeah, man, recently, Keith Thurman, he spoke out again, and, the tables have turned now. So he just kind of wants to go in here and put all eyes on him now by actually speaking Errol Spence's name. He said that Errol Spence has to fight him or leave the division. And I was just kind of like, where did this energy come from? Where did this energy all of a sudden come from where you want to fight Errol Spence now? Errol's been chasing him. Errol was always that top dog with the other belt, with the IBF belt after beating Kell Brook. And he always wanted to fight, but I don't know why Keith Thurman was waiting so long for this fight. I mean, we know why, but like in a manner of speaking, like, if this is the guy that needs to fight you or lead the division, why didn't you cherish what you had at the moment? And that's why I say a lot of guys get too comfortable now, or they think they're better than they are. They all think they're Mayweather now, where they can get to that point where they can marinate a fight. Everybody wants to marinate a fight now instead of just going straight after it, which is what I hate about boxing. Like, love it, but there's some things I do hate about it. The one thing the UFC has is they always have the best fights. Usman Covington, Usman Masvidal, Usman Burns. He's constantly fighting the number one contenders. But you see, even going back to like when Keith Thurman was the unified champion, he had the WBC, WBA belt, and he was always speaking, I want to be undisputed. I want to be undisputed. Over here across the water, Kell Brook gets beaten by Errol Spence. Errol Spence takes that IBF belt. He brings it back to the States. Okay, there's your match. There's your match. Be a perfect match for undisputed right there, man. But instead, Keith Thurman always says, oh, I want to build this fight up, or he'll just completely ignore it. Even when the injuries weren't there, he was kind of triggered when people brought up the fight. That was the perfect time, man. That was it. That was the time to get the Errol Spence fight, man. And that was when it made more sense. You could have beat the undefeated, tough, young, hungry, gritty fighter in Errol Spence at the time, who just beat Kell Brook. You know what I mean? But instead, now you letting Errol Spence rise to the top. Errol's got 2 belts now. So, he calls the shots. And at the same time, since then, you lost. When you made a comeback against Jose Cito Lopez, didn't look too good. Then you lost your belt against Manny Pacquiao. So what worth are you really to Errol Spence now? What worth are you to him now, where he can actually say, oh, I got to fight Keith Thurman now. That fight means so much. No, man. Like, he's got the 2 belts. Manny's got a belt. Then you got to remember Ugas is going to be fighting for that other vacated belt by, what's his name, Rasputin, who just got popped. And then you got Terrence Crawford with the WBO belt. Pound for pound king, Terrence Crawford, so Errol Spence ain't looking for you anymore. There's no need to look for you anymore. He was looking for you when you meant something, which is what a champion does. See, Keith Thurman, you had the belts. You should have been looking for the significant fights besides, Manny Pacquiao. You should have been looking for the guys to get out of the way and not let become monsters. You know what I mean? Like, you should have been looking for Errol Spence as soon as he got that belt. You should have got him right before he really started establishing himself and before he really got into it, like his prime now. You should have got it then, So that's his mistake he made, and I think that he's kind of kicking himself in the ass a little bit now with that. At the same time, he's kind of trying to play the blame game and pointing at Errol now, saying that, Errol has to fight him or lose or leave the division. But I'm like, Errol doesn't even have to play that. Keith has to go back and kind of find out, is he comfortable? Again, that's a common thing that comes up. Comfortable. Keith got comfortable. Keith started blowing up in weight. I remember there's one video I saw of him in like January of 2018 or 2019. And then like August or like September, I saw him at some fights commentating. Dude, he blew up. You know what I mean? So look at him, man. It was just like, yo, like this guy, he really like is eating good right now. I know he got married and everything, but he unified the division, but like that's just a part of it, man. Like, especially when you just got married, man, you got to keep that money coming in. So, when he got those 2 belts, I thought he was going to like go for undisputed, but no, he got comfortable. He really got comfortable and it showed. And now he's just kind of making his way back into the game after that Manny Pacquiao loss. It's been about a year now. So he's just kind of getting back into finding out what he wants to do and just kind of recapturing that flame again. He's going to have to kind of start from not square one, but from like square 3 or square 2. You know what I mean? He's got to take some humbling fights again. There's a Terrence Crawford. There's the Ugas fight. Hey, maybe you need to fight Sergey Lipinets. Maybe we need to take you down and you fight Sergey Lipinets. Maybe you can fight Mikey Garcia. Take one of those fights, but you can't just go off and say Errol needs to gun for you next. Now, Errol has plans. His 3-fight plan involves the fights that make sense. A good comeback fight against Danny Garcia. A guy who's still staying. He's been looking comfortable too. I ain't gonna lie too, but he's kind of been keeping his name more relevant in boxing and not really talking as much, where we could still see him as a top welterweight. Then you got Manny Pacquiao, who holds a belt, who holds a WBA belt. Like, we didn't know if he was going to do the sideshow fight with Golovkin or he might be doing the fight with Mikey Garcia. So we'll see. But that's another fight that Errol is targeting. Then number 1, he wants to cap it off for all the marbles. If he gets that WBA belt from Pacquiao, he wants to cap it off with a fight against Terrence Crawford, the WBO champion. So all of that makes sense. And that's all the Errol's ever wanted, even when Keith Thurman had the belts. He was always looking for the champions. Got Kell Brook. He wanted Keith Thurman next. That's what you're supposed to do, right? As a champion. So Keith Thurman, like, he kind of just has to take the back seat from here, in my opinion. You just got to take the back seat and let the guys with the belts kind of dictate the moves in the welterweight division right now, because that's what you were doing when you were the man. You won the belt and you won the belt in the Sean Porter fight, unified against Danny Garcia. You should have been looking around. You should have been saying WBO, IBF next. Errol Spence got the IBF. Let me get that fight. But when Errol Spence got that IBF belt, he just kind of pumped the brakes and said, whoa, not yet. He was like, we got to build this up. And no such thing as marinate, man. That's where you kind of messed up. So it's all on Keith now. I was a Keith fan when he was coming up, but when he started kind of pumping the brakes and when he kind of started getting triggered, when you mentioned Errol Spence's name, it just kind of put a question mark over my head. It was just kind of like, why are you like getting sensitive when people mention Errol Spence? They just want to see fights. They want to see good fights. Errol wants to fight. You take it too, man. Like, win or lose, it'll make you. It can't break you. So yeah, man, that's my thoughts on that. Let me know what y'all think, man. Like, should Errol Spence even entertain a Keith Thurman fight at any point? Even if he did win like all 3 or 4 belts, should he go back and fight Keith? I don't think so. Keith, unless Keith does something worthwhile. Like if Keith got to Manny in a rematch and destroyed Manny or beat Terrence Crawford, actually fought for that WBO belt and fought Terrence Crawford, then maybe that Errol's fight would be interesting. But yeah, I don't think that fight should really happen right now. It's not really a fight I want to entertain. But yeah, man, that's all I got on this, guys. Leave some comments in the comment section about some of the topics I talked about. Again, what do y'all think about Thurman Spence? Is that fight even on your radar anymore? Does it make any sense? But yeah, all I got, guys. Like I said, I got another interview coming this Thursday with another young up and coming fighter on the Invicta FC card in July 30th. So it's like 2.5 weeks. So yeah, that's going to be posted up. And then I got another interview next week. I actually got another one Friday, and then one after that I'm going to post up. So yeah, I got like 3 more for y'all with some of these top women MMA fighters. But yeah, make sure y'all, like always, follow me on Instagram at ComboBreaker99, all boxing everything, and at the Jab Effect. That's my other podcast with Boxing P, at the Jab Effect. And I'll post all that here so you can just see and you can subscribe to it. But yeah, definitely subscribe here to my channel, and shout out to the new subscribers to my channel, for supporting me and actually wanting to hear what I got to say about some of my breakdowns. Shout out to BAC, DJC, Robert Henry, Jason Rose, Coach Sheldon Harrison, George Page, all those guys that have been coming through, commenting and asking me to do some videos. Jerry D, of course. Yeah, just thanks for helping my channel grow, and I'll keep on doing videos, podcasts, interviews, and whatever, man. But yeah, that's all I got on this, guys. Make sure y'all subscribe. ComboBreaker99. I'm out, y'all. Peace.